So Victoria and Michael Fulton are gonna come right now, and they're gonna share a little bit of their story. Of course, no one can share all their story, but again, a wonderful couple that's coming to Selwyn, and we were encouraged, and they're gonna give us an update. And come on, guys, you wanna stay down there or come up here? They're gonna stay down here, okay.
I'm gonna start, because I'm pretty sure the last time Michael spoke in front of a church, he never went back. So I promised him I'd start, let him warm up a little bit. To make a long story short, because we could really speak for hours about how much God has really moved in our life just this past short year. And to really kind of start, like I grew up going to private Christian schools, surprisingly enough, but as a younger teen into my 20s, my mom and I kind of moved into the spiritualistic beliefs instead, along with some of my aunts and my grandmother. My mom and my grandma were both Reiki masters. Like that's kind of where we really were for a number of years. And really, my mom, she was actually going to go get ordained, and in that belief system, and God pretty much said, hey, you're going the wrong way, turn around. And she was like, oh, and she could just hear him so clearly, so she started searching for him. And it really scared me, it threw me off, because I was like, hey, you're really changing the whole game on me, I can't believe it. And she, as any good mother would, she left me a trail of breadcrumbs to follow. We really found that COVID was truly a blessing in disguise for us. It really reevaluated our family, our values, and what we really thought. And it really showed to me such true evils existed in this world. But that meant God was real. Like there was no more doubt in my mind. I'm like, well, if there's the devil, well, guess what? God is 100% there as well, and I have to go find him. So I started searching, and my mom kind of was like, well, she's more open to all of this stuff. And I ended up going to a freedom rally in my search, and on my way home, the freedom rally was, funny enough, in a church, and I could feel God there, and I was like, this is weird. And God started, on the way home, I was just, I guess I know now, it was like the Holy Spirit like took me under fire, and it's like, come home, come home, come home. And I'm like, okay, where's home? Let's find where that is. And my mom was she started coming to little churches here and there once things started opening up, and she heard Bill Prankard speak here. And she's like, hey, Vic, like this church hosted this gentleman named Bill, and a lot of that stuff resonates with you, and I feel like you should, check out Selwyn. And I said, okay, we'll think about it. And she ended up coming here with my son Axel and test drove a service for me. And she was really, hey, you should really try it out. And it took me a bit, but I finally came. And I remember the first service, I met Jess and her wonderful family, and it really made me feel so welcome. And I was like, okay, I can do this, because I just came with myself and my two little crazy wildling childs. So with the child care, it really made it so easy to come here. And I just remember I crumbled, completely crumbled. He brought me to my knees, and I was crying, and I was like, God, if you want me to come back, I got to stop crying. And I remember seeing my life almost flashing before my eyes when I was here. And I grew up with the poem Footprints in the Sand, and realizing God and Jesus, they walked with me my entire life. They were there, every blessing, finding my soulmate, my children, my career, everything. I'm like, God was there, and he showed me where exactly he was. And he's like, now it's time for you to be obedient. I've done all this for you, now it's your turn. So I really, I jumped at the first chance of an altar call, and I was baptized that Easter. And I remember during the Easter baptism, I was walking up to the stairs, and I was praying to God, because it was the first time I was able to drag Michael out with me. And I was like, God, when will Michael come? Because I'm very scared for our marriage, because this is yet again throwing, to a whole new chapter of our lives. And he showed me that Michael would get baptized with my grandmother. And then I laughed, because no way Nanny was going underwater and getting her hair wet in front of people. So I started taking a page out of Pastor Brian's playbook, and I started bribing Michael with hot coffee and carbs in the morning for breakfast, and he started coming.
Thank you. The breakfast was worth it. Might take me a minute to get through this. I'm not used to being up in front of people. I had gone to church for most of my youth, my childhood. Went to Sunday school, youth groups, went to Kingdom Bound at Darien Lake. But church was always, it was just kind of a place we went. I was never all in. It was just kind of a social gathering and outing. I don't blame the churches for that in any way. I think it might have been just myself. But then, since coming through those doors, I've just felt at home here, at peace. And things have been different. And the last couple of years, we've been kind of going down this road, this pathway. It's all our effort, our life has kind of been invested in this dream of ours. And then again, it kind of came to a point where that's not the path that we're supposed to take. And there were some roadblocks, some walls, and it led to like a low point in my life. And it kind of brought me right to God. And I was just like, what are we going to do? And our house was sold. We needed a place to live. And I was on the deck just praying one night. It's like, God, show me what we're supposed to do. And then I heard this crackling noise. And I was looking at the hydro lines. And there was arcing coming from the top of the hydro pole. And I'm an electrician, so I was like, okay, I got to investigate this. So I walked over, and I'm just looking up at it, and it's sparking. There's no wind. There's no reason for it. I'm like, what's going on here? And then I just saw the way the hydro lines went one way, and then there was this point where the arcing was happening, and then they just went another way. And I took it as a kind of a sign. I was like, all right, we're supposed to go another direction. And I actually took it as literally another direction. And I went and got my Google Maps out. I was like, where's this pointing to us? And so it intersected with Bob Cajun. And I was like, you know what? I like Bob Cajun. So after church Sunday, we decided to go look around in Bob Cajun. And there was a house at the end of the road, this road that we went and looked at, and it was not everything that MLS said it was. It was very deceiving. And then on the way back down this road, I was kind of just, driving, kind of lost in my own thoughts. And I remember Victoria looking over my shoulder like, if only that house was for sale. If a house like that was for sale, we'd buy it. So the day kind of ended, and then we kind of went on. And then the next day, I went on MLS, and I was like, oh, look at this house. Like, wow, look at this place. And I was like, the price was good, and I sent it to Victoria. She's like, that's the house. That's the house. I was like, okay, I'm calling our realtor friend. I was like, let's go see it. So I was only able to go. Victoria was at work. And as soon as I walked in the door, it was like, wow, I could live in this place. This place makes me feel at home. And so she wanted me to just put an offer in. I was like, no, you gotta see it. You gotta see it. So the next day, she came. We walked through it, and it was like, wow, okay, let's buy this house. So we put an offer in, and then things on the seller's end started to get kind of delayed. And we knew that the price was good, and we figured there would have been another showing. And sure enough, they were delaying because there was another showing, and there was another offer that was going to be coming in. And then God being the way he is, he decided to work some more miracles. And there was power outages on their end. And I kind of jumped ahead a little bit here, but Vic was like, how badly do you want this house? Oh yeah, we were praying with the kids in the living room, and Vic was at work, and she calls me and said, how bad do you want this house? And I was like, why? She's like, well, if you want this house, this is the price, and these are the conditions. And I was just like, how do you know? Who's your insider here? She's like, he told me, this is the price, and these are the conditions. I'm like, okay, what do you mean he told you? She's like, he told me, this is the price, and these are the conditions. So I was like, all right. So we resubmitted a newer offer with the new price, new conditions, and then on their end, there were some power outages and some internet communication. So both offers came in at the exact same time when they were presenting. And they were identical, absolutely identical. And our realtor, he sent us, wrote a little thing about us as a family. And because of that, they picked our offer. So we didn't, yeah. So we didn't need to pay any more than what was necessary to get the home that we love. And I figured that if God can do all that, what else can he do? So at that point in time, I'm all in. And then I got baptized shortly after that. With Nanny. With Nanny, yeah. Yeah.
Say that again, with Nanny.
With Nanny.
He was baptized with Nanny. I just want to really finish off that I know changing this with our marriage, I was very, very scared, but since then, like, there's a before Christ and an after Christ moment in our relationship. Now, when you let him into your relationship, I feel we get to no longer look at each other being like, how are you going to fix this? It's more or less, okay, we take it to the Lord, and then we get to support each other. And he's been the mortar to our relationship, and I never really knew the cracks existed until you kind of look back and you're like, wow. And we're so thankful for him. We're thankful for everybody here, and we hope that kind of helps anybody going through anything.
Ah, what an end. That's a good ending. Hallelujah.